Alright, now that we've established text boxes and some object elements that we might want to use on the master pages, let's go into paragraph styles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to, I guess I'll stay in the master pages, and let's flip to an example work. Alright, so paragraph styles are an extraordinarily useful tool. And I'll just use this project by a studio last year to kind of a book that they put together just to kind of describe kind of what you would think about when you're thinking about paragraph styles. So, in any portfolio, you might have a title of the project that might have kind of a different font, different kind of hierarchy, then say just some content body text, we might call it, about the project. And then maybe there's subheads that you might use to define certain areas or certain other useful information, along with perhaps a style for page numbering. And or if you're doing kind of, in their case, they wanted to signify kind of with the book's title on each page and kind of where you were at. So all of those things where you see a different type of text is all a style, or can be if you use InDesign right. So like all of this that I've selected, and probably that portion right here, that would be a body text style. This would be a subhead, and this would be a title, and this is whatever you would call it, I don't know, a sidebar, and this would be page numbering. So if we follow through the book, you'll see that those styles are consistent. The body text is always this particular font. The subhead is always that size and that font, and so on through the book. All right, and then every time they introduce a new topic, then they would use then this kind of title font. Now those things need to be built in InDesign, but you can see that from that example, we probably had about 5 or 6 different paragraph styles for this book. There probably were a few more that we're not kind of counting, such as say, titles to diagrams or images and things of that nature, or captions. But essentially, you get this handful that you'd end up using for a portfolio. And that's really important to kind of start to define those. So the first thing you would do when setting up the portfolio is probably just design a page, a project page, and kind of figure out from that design how many paragraph styles you would have. But let's now take, for instance, just kind of how you would set it up. So I'm going to start typing in this text box, and I'm just going to use kind of generic names. And I'm going to select that text, and I'm going to decide on what I want to use for the font and what size I might want to use. And perhaps even kind of the alignment. So this title project, you can see that maybe I want the alignment on this line and not up here. So I can go up here and I can drop that to the line bottom. Okay, so now I have maybe something to work with. And so you design it all first, and then you go in and you go to paragraph style. Let me increase this so you can see paragraph style. And I'm going to click on these 4 horizontal lines. I'm going to find new paragraph style, and I'm going to define that. And it'll take on all of the parameters that I've already set up here. So let's take a look. Basic fonts. So it's taken on that Swiss 721 black CN and the size and whatnot. All right, so I have a lot of possibilities here. I'm going to make sure this preview's clicked so that as I change things, I can see them take place. So let's say I do all caps. I should have. Oh, I haven't assigned it, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and just say OK now, and I'm going to go ahead and assign this to paragraph style. So now, as I double click on paragraph style, I may want to change that name to title, and I'll double click on it and it'll open it up. And so now I can start to kind of change it and see the changes happen. So if I decide that that's a better kind of format, if I decide that, I really wanted 60, I can go on and so on and so forth from that. So you want to tab through these things because there may be also, I really want it to have a certain color. Maybe actually I want it to be outlined in white. You can start to create kind of your own design style for just that one thing. So now let's go ahead and see the power of setting that one thing up. So in my pages, my master pages, say that I decide that, I'm going to have like a couple of pages for this one project. So it would be really smart if I decide to say that this is like A is the project, page, and then I create a new. I'm going to duplicate that master spread, and on this, let's go ahead and I'll say that this is project content. Now, I'm kind of making up names, but what I'm kind of trying to show you is that essentially here I don't want to introduce the project again because this already been done on this page. And so I'm going to now apply these master pages to the second set here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to apply master pages. So I've selected them both, apply master pages, and I'm going to pick that. Okay. The other way you can do it is select them, say those two, and you can just drag these down over top of them. And you'll know that it's changed because it has a B now. Okay. And there's no magic to B or A. In fact, you can see if you go to the master options for that you can change that B to be C. And then it changes down here. It also changes up here. All right, so now let's go to this one. So now I'm not in the, remember, I'm not in the master page. Now I'm in the actual page. So here I'm going to Control Shift, and I'm going to say that this is, I don't know, project 1. Now even though I typed in no caps there, I just started typing, didn't hold down Shift, because I've already selected all caps for that style, it just automatically goes. And let's just go into this one, again, Shift Control, and I'll make this project 2. Alright, so here's the power of paragraph styles. Actually, I don't need to go there. I can go into paragraph styles at any time, go into title, and let's just decide that, you know what, that cyan color is really not the best. Maybe I want to actually make it this magenta. So I just go ahead and change that, and I go, and maybe I do want to go ahead and have it outlined. and say OK. And what you'll notice is that it changed here, but you also will notice that it changed in project 2, project 1, this one that hasn't been really assigned anything. So it becomes a very powerful tool, paragraph styles, because it allows you to set up a kind of a standard for your entire document. And using paragraph styles, if you just are clever enough to kind of just do a few things, it will make your life so much easier. So now, let's just imagine that then we're also going to add, so I'm going to add a text box down here. I'm just going to do the full range. I'm going to type in some, let's just use something else. We'll use, say, an Arial. And I'll use Arial narrow, and then I'm going to go down to kind of a font size that's normal, and I don't want it to be all this kind of crazy colors, so I'm probably going to none there and make it black. And I'll go ahead and grab some lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is a term for text that looks like text but really is just gibberish. And you can go to this site and you can actually, just to get a graphic sense of how the large amount of content is going to kind of look, you can go ahead and kind of tell it exactly what you want, paragraph, words, whatnot, and it'll generate essentially what isn't Latin. It looks kind of like Latin, it looks kind of like English, it looks kind of like the Latin languages, but it's not. It's just gibberish. And you can go ahead and paste that in. Alright, so now I'm going to go to paragraph styles. You'll see that because this initially, because it was already selected, it initially put this title paragraph style on top of this. And I started making changes, and it added this little plus sign. That plus sign, you really don't want to have that plus sign. Because what that plus sign means is that you've gone in and you've edited this specific text box, this specific paragraphs, to be a certain something else that other than what you intended. It's far better for you to go in. It's like, okay, I'm doing something new. Now I'm going to create a new paragraph style, and this will be my body text. And I am going to tell it not to be in all caps but be normal, and we'll say OK. And now I need to apply it. And that's the part that everyone always forgets. And you can see now that it looks like regular text. I'm going to hit W. I'm going to basically make sure I have nothing selected, and I'm going to hit W. And that shows you kind of what the page will look like. And then hit W again, it'll show you with all the guides. Alright, so this looks pretty cool. Looks pretty good. The thing that I don't like is that, one, I have the hyphens here, and two, I really didn't use my columns very well. So there's a couple ways to deal with columns. And one is to go ahead and make the text box the size of the column, and you see this plus sign, and you go in, I'm just clicking, and I'm filling in the text within those columns. Okay, so that's one way. There's a new way to do it in InDesign, which is basically clicking on the paragraph style. And since I've spanned 3 columns, I'm double clicking on the paragraph style, I can tell it to go down here and span columns. So now it's a single column, and now I'm going to tell it to span columns. And I'm going to tell it, well, let's see what all does. Doesn't seem to do anything. Make sure that I've actually selected, okay, everything's in there. Alright, so, oh, I think I used the wrong type. I don't want span, I want actually split. And you can see that I can tell it to be 2, and it kind of automatically does it. It ignores these guides, or I can tell it to be 3, and it's starting to look a lot like those guides. It probably doesn't have quite the same size of gutter, so I think now it has the absolute same size of gutter. Alright, so now we can start to look at other things that I might want to think about. I can control whether it's left justified, kind of make it line up. I can do a ton of things. I can tell it to not hyphenate because that's just bad in body text to have hyphenization. You go on, there's name the thing that you want to do, and it's in here. I can tell it to kind of always indent the first line, to have everything but the first line indented. I can tell it to then have a tab at a certain place. You name it. Okay, so I'm going to keep it kind of there. So that's the beginning of paragraph styles.